The COVID-19 Safety Committee consists of a range of members of the congregation who have different experiences. We have folks who work in the medical field, folks who work in public health specifically, people like myself who are, as professionals in education or other fields of work, are thinking about these reopening decisions for different groups of people. And it's just been a really thoughtful committee. There's a lot of good conversation and sharing and really pushing one another to make sure that we are making the decisions for St. Peter's that reflect St. Peter's values and what we as a congregation can safely do. People are really eager to be back in fellowship with one another, and that with the weather warming up, there are ways to do that safely outside. And so we are beginning to allow outdoor gatherings following the guidelines of the state, the diocese, and some specific parameters that we're putting in place at St. Peter's. But we're excited that people will be able to safely be with one another for church gatherings in the coming weeks.
I really encourage everyone to take advantage of the small group outdoor gatherings that you can. I know it's not gathering in person for worship, but it is gathering in person. It is a continuation of the fact that the church is not necessarily the church building, but the church as a body of people.
Gatherings. So the COVID Safety Committee, along with many members of the St. Peter's community, are anxious to get back into the church for in-person worship. However, it's not safe yet. We have decided on some data metrics that we will follow. And once we meet certain goals, we will then discuss returning to in-person worship.
We're looking at the test positivity within Philadelphia. That is the number of COVID tests that are taken in the city related to the number of tests that come back positive. So we're looking at a number that sort of reflects how many people of the people who think they may have COVID or think they were exposed are coming back with positive tests, and also the hospitalization and how many people are hospitalized with serious COVID. That really gives us an insight as to how much of the precautions that we're taking is working. That's especially important when we're looking at new variants that are coming in. So that really helps capture the severity of the disease and also how commonly the disease is spreading at this point.
Well, we've already heard some concerns of, will we be able to meet these goals? And these numbers have been met and were met last August, September, October, and that was without vaccination in the mix. So we are optimistic that we will get to the point where we can meet our metrics and safely go back to in-person worship. Yeah, we're very much optimistic that we can head back into church for in-person worship in September, most likely the middle of September. Of course, that will depend on lots of unknowns, right? The vaccination rates are going up. Unfortunately, at the moment, Philadelphia's rates are going up in terms of the number of cases and the test positivity, as well as the number of people hospitalized with COVID. And there are some wild cards that we just can't predict. There are the variants out there. So we already keeping an eye on the data. We will continue to look at the data and try to advise the clergy and the vestry in the best way possible, and also encourage communication with the congregation at large.
So there are some places right now that are saying, we will allow indoor gatherings, but you have to reply ahead of time and make sure that you have to be vaccinated to come, you have to show your card, things like that. And the concern at St. Peter's is that is potentially restricting access to members of our congregation who, for many different reasons, might not be able to make those commitments.
We've had long discussions within the COVID Safety Committee about what's at the core of St. Peter's values. And certainly one of those is inclusion. And we continue to have discussions around that. But right now, it doesn't seem in keeping with the St. Peter's way to limit the number of people that are allowed to participate in in-person worship. So, trying to be the heart and the hands of Jesus, we do want to welcome everyone. And in some ways, having that limited number of attendees and a reservation system really pushes against that.
So continuing to keep safe is how we keep each other safe as a community, as just a group of people who cares about each other. And so we will get back there. We will be back in the church. It is not necessarily tomorrow, but it will be soon.
I think I am just so grateful for everybody in the St. Peter's community who has been willing to try new things this year. I think there are so many ways in which our congregation has grown through participating in YouTube services or Zoom conversations. And I hope that, while we are all so eager to get back to something of church that we knew and loved before the pandemic, that we can continue to be patient and creative and flexible, and finding ways to connect to one another safely in the meantime.
Although Philadelphia's COVID numbers are increasing, it is encouraging that vaccine efforts are continuing, and we are ever increasing the number of people in our area who are partially or fully vaccinated. In the meantime, we still need to stay vigilant, stay the course, even if you're vaccinated. Please wear your masks and practice social distancing. I pray that you all stay well.